The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Ah, there it is. You tuned into the Farron Dozier Show on nbradio.us, TikTok edition, and Live Sports. Catch me here Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time, only on nbradio.us. Shout out. How'd I do? Was that a good take? That might be. All right, welcome to another episode of the Farron Dozier Show right here on MB Radio. That's right, MB Radio. Make sure you go to the apps. You can download the app, or guess what? You can actually check out the show right from the website at mbradio.us. That's right, we're streaming live right there from the website. Or after the episode is over, you can go to whatever platform that you stream your shows from, Spotify, wherever you get it from. You can go there and type in the Farron Dozier Show and catch episodes there. Tonight's episode as well. Just a great day. Got a very important show for you as always here on the Farron Dozier Show on MB Radio. Today is National Radio Day. Yeah. So shouts out to my buddy Double R. I didn't even realize it, to be honest with you. I saw his picture of the academy that we went to, where he worked at. And yeah, so I was reflecting. I have been in this internet radio space since 2009, late 2009, going into 2010. And then I went, after I retired from the military, I went to radio broadcasting first. And people was like, why are you going over there? Like, you're already on internet radio. I mean, it wasn't podcasting back then. It was internet radio. We had Live 365. We had cameras. We had everything that we needed back then. What you see today, we was doing that years ago in the 2000s. But yeah, so people are like, why are you going to this radio school? I'm like, I want to learn, the basic knowledge. Like, I'm self-taught, but I don't know everything. And so I wanted to go back and learn the FCC laws just in case I did want to get a job at a radio station. But I don't want to work at a radio station. I mean, I'm working one on my own time, right? This is my own, like, I'm not clocking the clock, punching the clock at a Power 106 or whatever, I could get a job at. I even thought about going to even leaving the state. I've known people that left the state to go be radio personalities in small markets. That's also an opportunity. I could still do all of those things. I don't want to do that for anybody. I want to do it for my own stuff, for my own cause, stuff that I care about, and on my own time too. So I'm blessed to be able to do that. So National Radio Day. So we going for the National Radio Day. Yeah. So just always, blessed to be here on MB Radio. You can catch me also on KCA Radio, the NBC affiliates of NBC Sports, CNBC News, and NBC News over there on Sundays at 8 p.m. Just another version of the Farron Dozier Show on Sunday nights, the original place where I started. And we do sports over there too. So just a mixture of both, get to reach my military community here, be with my brothers and sisters in arms, and those first responders. This is a special place for us. And then also, I have the AM/FM channel over there on Sunday night. So just good to be on the radio. What else? Got a good show for you today. Dr. Maisha is going to be chiming in. She is the trait doctor. I met Dr. Maisha now. I lost count. 10 years. I've been advocating since 2010. So I think I met her around 12 or 13. So yeah, we've been around about 10 to 12 years now. She is one of my board members as well. She is a trait doctor. So she helps us move this trait conversation forward specifically. So I want you to tune in for that segment here. It's going to be very important, not just for us, but especially for where MB Radio is located at. They're located in Denver, Colorado. And, for us as trade carriers, Denver is not quite the place you may want to hang out for long periods of time unless you really get acclimated to the area, because the oxygen is thin in Denver. So we're going to talk about that location and things that have happened over there over the last couple of years. Some very serious conversations connected to sickle cell trait and the oxygen levels being thin and what that can do to the body over time. So we got that segment, and then I got a segment, but I'm going to start off with, I just been talking about looking at how us as human beings, how we talk, right? And it's very important to pay attention to how we talk. We talk, and we say things, and a great percentage of the time we're describing life, right? Like I'm struggling and I got problems and I got issues and not really saying what those things are, right? So today there's one word, and this word is not a right or wrong, a good or bad word. However, for me, see, when I did my work around my behavior and my character and who I was being growing up, and me challenging the first 40 years of my life, I didn't communicate well. I thought I was a good communicator. I thought I was a good listener, but I really wasn't. And so the things that I learned about myself, one of the most important things I learned is being responsible for what comes out of my mouth. And that is also in the spiritual context, because the tongue, that thing right there, boy, you can say some stuff, you can create life with that, and you can destroy life with your tongue, with your choice of words. And so there's one word that I know that we utilize heavily, especially in our military community. But in life, people use this term. And I just looked at it for myself and I'm like, you know what? I get why we use that word, but I believe that sometimes we use words as like a badge of honor, right? When really we use that word to describe who we say that we are or what we're doing, but really in the background of our heart, of our mind, we're really suffering. We're really suffering in silence. And this is something that I speak about in all of my platforms, no matter regardless of what we're talking about, because it's always important for that human aspect. I believe sometimes we discount the human experience. Like, I don't want to feel this, just do it. Like Nike, just do it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to think about it. Just do it. If you're going to do it, do it. So sometimes we use cliches like action speaks louder than words. That's one of those cliches. We're going to talk about that one day too, because I just don't believe that action speaks louder than words, right? Because sometimes we're doing stuff with our actions and we may not be able to express what we really are dealing with as a person. So your behavior, right? And sometimes we say things and we do things differently from what we say. Why is that though? It's normal. See, we point that out in other people, but do you self-examine yourself of what you're pointing out as the issue in other people might be your same issue for yourself? See those other three fingers right here? They're pointing at me. So it's not always other people. People are dealing with a lot of stuff today. People are dealing with a lot of stuff from their past. There's a lot going on in people's culture and their environment. So today's words are resilience. Yes, I've been hearing that word for so many years, and I'm like, resilience. What does that really mean to be resilient? Like, even when you hear people say this like a badge, like, yes, I'm resilient. It's not wrong. This is not a right or wrong, good or bad conversation. I don't have those. In fact, I teach giving up your opinions about right or wrong or good or bad. Because if you can give up your opinion about right or wrong or good or bad, then you get to listen, communicate, find out why you think it's wrong, and find out why somebody else might think is right. Because you're both probably right or wrong. But who cares? It's about the ability to communicate. So resilience is the word, and the other word is perseverance. So you have one part of being resilient, and you have another part of being perseverance. right? And maybe they might be similar to you. Maybe they might be the same thing on how you describe life. But we're going to talk about those words and figure out, I'm going to talk about how I view it for myself. And then you can look in your life and see, what it looks like for you, right? So we're going to do that. And then Dr. Maisha will be here, and then we'll get into some sickle cell trait rhabdomyolysis conversations on a medical scale, from what she wants to share about these two, in one inherited gene, and one is a skeletal muscular disorder that can be triggered by our inherited gene of sickle cell trait, called ECAS in the military. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to play some commercials for you, and there will be, just check this out right here. The Farron Dozier Show on mbradio.us. Shout out, what's the count?
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes, in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmago decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Calmago.com to learn how you can get Calmago through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
Zetovia salve, made from natural and organic ingredients, good for inflammation, poor circulation, hemorrhoids, yeast infection, lip sores, dry coughs, eye pain, minor cuts and bruises, and ready to purchase at botanicaherbalco.com. 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 Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh,
too.
man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. You know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait, there's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org. Yes, it is. In my city, it is Sickle Cell Trait Prevention Month in the city of Fontana, Kentucky, they call it. And so, yes, so thanks to Mayor Aquinetta. She gave us our, I'm trying to track down because I honestly can't remember how many. I think it's number 9. I think my first proclamation was in 2016. So I think it was 2016. If it was 2016, this was number 9 or 10. I don't know. I lost count, but I'm very grateful for those proclamations. Just to be able to bring awareness to the city of Fontana and in the Inland Empire, but actually it's everywhere I go. So this month is, it's my city month, but this conversation is every day, 365, 366, if it's got to be, that I'm here bringing this conversation. Always, in some fashion, you get a message from it. So I want to touch on just a little bit. I'm going to set the tone for this resilience conversation, and we'll come back to it because Dr. Maisha is here. So again, I was looking at at how we use these words as we describe life, and we talk about, you hear people say, "I'm resilient. I'm resilient," but I'm like, are you really though? Are we really resilient though? Right? And so I'm looking at life from an activity of life and as experience of life. So as an activity of life, resilience, right? It says that you're supposed to be the kind of person that bounces back. Like when difficulties happen, resilience is where you say, yeah, I bounce back. But do we bounce back really as people? I believe it's challenging and difficult for human beings to really bounce back. Because if you really take a look at it, there are things that we start in life, there are projects that we start that seem fun and exciting, and they're great when they're started, and then they become hard work, and they become challenges, and they become these difficulties, and then there's ways of being that you got to be to make that project happen, or whatever that is. And so sometimes we like, I quit, I don't want to do that, or we just walk away from it, right? And it's unfinished, right? So for me, the ability to have resilience is to bounce back, right? And take responsibility. So guess what? You know what? Maybe you create a project and you realize that after you get within the thick of it, it doesn't, I don't want to do this no more. Do we really say, okay, I don't want to do this no more? Or do we just walk away from it? And then we live with it in our heart. Like, man, that's unfinished. I didn't do that project. I got all these projects that I didn't finish. And then that leaves the space for your subconscious mind to beat you up because you've got things that you've started that you didn't finish. But yet we say, I'm resilient. I bounce back. I push through. And yet, as human beings, we suffer in silence. So I believe it's difficult for human beings to bounce back. Right? I mean, you can tell the truth. You ain't got to tell it to me. You ain't got to put it in the chat. But I'm just saying, it is difficult for human beings to really bounce back, especially when it's up to a project, up to performance projects, because we're always up to something. But do you really bounce back when it's difficult? When you're challenged, when you're stuck, or you experience being stuck? You might not even be stuck. You might just feel like you're stuck. Why? Why do we get stuck? Well, what if you're telling yourself, you know what, I'm not good enough for this project anyway. Why am I even doing this? Maybe your mind pops up and like, what are you doing, bro? You know you're not good enough for this. You know you're not worth it. You know you're not smart enough. You know you can't do this. What are you doing? That's you talking to yourself. That's why I say we suffer in silence around the context of resilience, because that's what our heart needs, resilience, right? Our mind, our will, our emotions, they want to be resilient, right? Because we're designed to survive life. The brain is designed to survive life and push through and take on life in the survival state. Sometimes the survival state of mind is not freeing. Sometimes you get stuck in that survival state of mind because it's got to be done a particular way, or it's got to look a certain way. And if it's not turning out that way, then we drop that and we go start something else. And this is not right or wrong or good or bad. My point is, are you really resilient when you say that word? Are you being resilient, or are you just doing it? There's a difference, right? And there's a difference I'm pointing to, not in the activity, but the experience of yourself in that conversation of being resilient. So I believe your heart, yes, our soul, with our mind, will, and emotions, yes, we want to appear to be resilient. And maybe that's a way of we prep talk to ourselves to get us back on track and to get us going. But if you really tell the truth as a people, it's hard for us to bounce back. I know I've started some projects before and I was like, I don't think I want to do that. Right. But then what happens is you start a project and you've given your word to that project. See, that's where the badge of honor comes from, being resilient, because you give your word to these projects and you don't finish them. And now they're out there and maybe they're connected to people. And now people are wondering what's happening with this project. Are you not doing it? Are you doing it? So now I've got to be able to then take that resilience attitude and either complete that project and say, hey, you know what, y'all? You know what? I changed my mind. I don't want to do this no more. But you got to be that kind of person. A lot of people just ghost. That's the term today. They ghost people and then they just run away. And then, like I said, you're not really resilient, but you say you are, but your experience of yourself is not resilient. So that's that first word. We're going to come back and do part 2 of this during the show, talk about perseverance. That's the other word. That's the word that I found in the Bible, in the scripture, that gives you perseverance, is pursue things even through the difficulty. See, the difference is, let me read you the definition of resilience before I go. So resilience is the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. That's what resilience is supposed to be about. The ability to sustain or object to return to its original shape after being bent, stretched, and compressed. If we tell the truth as people, sometimes we get so bent out of shape, we don't return back into the natural shape. We don't bounce back to that project and take it on. Sometimes we just throw it away. But your mind doesn't throw it away. Your mind reminds you that you didn't finish that over there. Look at you. How are you going to do this one over here when you never finished that other project? Do you talk to yourself like that? I know I did. I know I still do sometimes. But that's just what happens as being a people, as being a person, as being human. We deal with that. So resilience, again, it's not right or wrong, good or bad. I got some more, topics about resilience and what that looks like biblically. But it says the main part about being resilient is your ability to bounce back. That's not perseverance. Perseverance is not bouncing back. So if you could talk to yourself and be honest with yourself and look at the projects that you've done over the years, and say, you know what? Maybe I didn't bounce back. Maybe it got difficult and I quit. It's not wrong. We quit all the time. The problem is, or the situation is when you're suffering in that quitting and you're beating yourself up with that. Why did I quit? I didn't finish that. That's how we talk to ourselves. That's not bouncing back. And so we put on the badge of resilience as I'm bouncing back. But you haven't really bounced back because we suffer in silence. All right, so that's part 1 of the resilience conversation. I would like to bring to the deck. This is my, when I started this sickle cell trait conversation, and I went to that first 38th annual conference in Maryland in 2010, and I thought I was going to be, again, human beings, we want to be accepted, right? That's one of the other things that we teach, is we want a sense of belonging. We want to belong somewhere. We want to be accepted, right? And so I went to this conference and showed up and presented my information about sickle cell trait at this sickle cell disease conference. And I walked away that weekend like I didn't belong. And it just didn't make sense to me. However, I met Phyllis Zachary Thomas, who ran the Sickle Cell STD Soldier Network, and she had a booth there, and she was like, you know what, Farron, I know how important sickle cell trait conversation is. Even though I have sickle cell anemia, I know the importance of sickle cell trait. So you can come and work with me. I'll work with you because I know that sickle cell trait prevention, education, awareness is important to this conversation around sickle cell. It is the key in conversation, right? And so I walked away working with her, and she really embraced me. She took me under her wing, and we equate that to Deborah and Barak in Judges chapter 4. You can read that, Judges chapter 4. I'm Barak in that passage, and so she took me under her wing and just taught me how to be this advocate. She told me what to do, what not to do, what kind of person that I should be, to make sure that I leave my footprint and don't just go to places and share your message and walk away. No, you want to be You want to leave your footprint because people may come back and need to find you and talk to you. And so I made sure that I was that kind of person, that advocate. She passed away in 2012, and I equate her, if I have to put a movie to that, I use the Bible scripture, Judges chapter 4. But if I give you something for your heart or your soul, Star Wars. Star Wars is one of those movies that, when those Jedi Knights, when they died, they were even more powerful in the spiritual world, right? Like Obi-Wan Kenobi, he became more powerful in that realm. And so for me, Phyllis became my Jedi Knight during that conversation. And so I'm just grateful that she saw the importance of my conversation, because my sense of belonging was fractured, because I thought this disease conversation and sickle cell trait was connected, which it is, but I realized that sickle cell trait has its own separate awareness, education, and prevention conversation. And it does meet with sickle cell when it's time to have a conversation about those parents having children, right? So I understand that now. So I'm good. I'm developed. I'm still growing. I don't have it all figured out. I can tell you that. That's why I found Dr. Maisha, who is a doctor, MD doctor. And, when I started talking to her 10, 12 years ago, she confirmed a lot of the things that I was dealing with around sickle cell trait. And so when you find someone who, validates your story, who actually has medical knowledge around your story, that has been taught and told to people for years that sickle cell trait doesn't have complications or you shouldn't have any problems. You know what? Yeah, here we are in 2025. And they're starting to even alter that conversation now, because they're starting to admit that sickle cell trait can be a trigger in some of these health complications by itself and in conjunction with other conditions. As I mentioned, this segment is about sickle cell trait and rhabdomyolysis. So guess what? Guess who's here? The one and only Dr. Maisha. What's up?
You know how to make a person feel so good, Farron.
What's happening? What's happening?
I miss you, man. It's been a minute.
I know.
What have we been waiting for?
Today.
Today.
We've been waiting for
crazy
today.
how this came together today.
Oh, where did she go? Look at that. And just like that, Dr. Maisha's gone. We appreciate you, Dr. Maisha, for dropping in and saying hello. But yeah, she'll be right back. This is what happens when you are live broadcasting. See, in radio, you're not on camera, right? So we could just go to commercial and then, do all those things like that. But no, you got to know how to be able to handle this live broadcast. I've been doing live broadcasting for a long time, ladies and gentlemen, and you think that was something? I've had worse than that. Let me tell you, that was easy. That one was easy.
I got booted out.
I don't know what you did. You don't touch nothing.
I can't touch nothing.
No, but thank you again for your family and for coming on today to put this conversation in a perspective for the community, especially here in my veteran community of Denver and all over broadcasting that stream in to watch the shows here. Very, very, very important conversation. So do me a favor, introduce yourself, and then we'll talk this through.
So I'm Dr. Maisha. They started to call me the trait doctor. I have been on this journey with Farron for about, like 15 years,
I think it's somewhere. Yeah.
Wow. So over these years, my confidence in the realization that sickle cell trait really does cause symptoms has grown. Unfortunately, I wish that wasn't true, right? Yeah. I wish trait doesn't mean that you have any kind of problem, that the only thing it means is you can fight malaria. I wish that were the narrative. Yeah. The truth of the matter is that trait can cause rhabdomyolysis, organ loss, organ failure. We even know of cases with limb loss, holes in limbs, in the bones of the limbs. It can cause pulmonary embolism, like blood clots on the lungs, blood clots in the legs. Blood clots in the lungs are more common. Pregnancy loss. It can cause clotting in your eyes. So it can actually do quite a few things.
Pain.
Yeah,
fatigue.
If you listen to the list that I just said, and you don't realize that that's got to be painful.
For real.
And it can cause just chronic pain, because I think the most insidious aspect of sickle cell trait that does distinguish it from sickle cell is the microscopic damage.
Mm-hmm.
With sickle cell SS, when you're homozygous, you're SS, the good thing is we can see it more, I guess. The upside is you can see it more, and I don't want anybody to have either one.
Right.
But if you're going, the problem with trait is you can't see it. And when it comes to something like rhabdo, sometimes you don't feel it for 24 hours after the insult.
Yeah.
Or 48 hours. So you worked out on Monday, and all of a sudden on Wednesday you're sick and nobody knows why, and you progress to death quite rapidly.
Yeah.
That's very possible. So the exciting thing is that after all these years, we are seeing a shift in the literature. A huge article came out. I think Dr. Naik was one of the authors, admitting that trait is a contributor, independently contributing to end-stage renal disease, especially in African Americans. So African Americans have something called an APOL1 gene that can increase their chance of having end-stage renal disease. But sickle cell trait actually has a bigger impact than that even.
Mm-hmm.
And that gene, of course, plays roles in hypertension,
Mm.
with having more hypertension in African Americans.
I know.
So trait in and of itself can mess with your kidney, which is what gets affected the most in rhabdo. Your muscles break down, and then that clogs your kidney.
Yeah.
And that's what leads to the multi-system organ failure.
Yeah.
And so understanding that process means you can do something about it. And I just want to start on the really positive note. The NCAA, back in 2004, I believe it was, somewhere around then, 2004 to 2008, had 273 deaths of athletes, mostly Division I football players. And that may not seem like a huge number.
Right.
But when you're talking about young, healthy men who are doing something for fun, they're in college playing football for fun, for fame, for, building their future and making connections, and now they're dead.
Yeah.
You're talking about people who are in the peak of their health, the peak of youth, but all of a sudden they're dead. And it's from something that we can intervene if we know about.
Right.
So that number decreased by 89% after universal screening or opt-out was implemented. You either have to have proof of your status,
Yep.
you have to get screened, or you have to sign a waiver. Why? Because they don't want to be responsible if your kid dies on the field.
Yes.
We've informed you that if your kid has this, that can die on the field. If you don't want to find out, that's your choice. Your medical stuff is your business, but we told you.
Yeah.
So 89% decrease in sudden death associated with sickle cell trait. The other big cause of sudden death is a heart defect that you don't know until it happens.
Right.
But we do the sports physical, we do EKGs, we look for possibilities with it. Even with that, we look for possibilities. So it's quite amazing that here we are. As of 2019, they looked from 2000 to 2019, and they saw that there was an 89% decrease in sudden death associated with sickle cell trait.
That's good.
And yes, with a relative risk of less than 0.117 or 0.112 on the two different aspects that they looked at, which is a significance level of P 0.02. So it's statistically significant, strong evidence.
Good.
And so basically knowing, what did they say? Knowing is half the battle.
Knowing is half
right?
the battle. It is not a cliche, ladies and gentlemen. That is not a cliche.
It's real. But the issue is that rhabdo can make all of your muscles break down. You can become extremely weak. You collapse. And without rapid intervention, the chances of death are very high. You're in Denver right now. We have the famous football player, Ryan Clark.
Yes.
He went into rhabdomyolysis and lost his spleen.
Yes.
In Denver because of sickle cell trait.
And gallbladder.
Right. and gallbladder.
And gallbladder. He lost both of those. And I'm grateful that, you know, the numbers have changed, right? However, anybody can experience rhabdomyolysis. That's the other part of this conversation, that anybody can experience rhabdo, because sickle cell trait is just one of those inherited genes that can cause or trigger rhabdo. You have other inherited genes. You have muscle diseases that people don't know that they have. You have statin drugs and cholesterol medication that could cause rhabdo. Being crushed, can cause rhabdo. So there are different things that can cause the rhabdo. This is personal to me because I have sickle cell trait, and I experienced sickle cell trait and the rhabdomyolysis, and so that's why this is personal to me. However, anyone can experience rhabdo. So, Dr. Maisha, and also I want to say I met an officer who said that he had thalassemia trait and experienced rhabdo after doing track and field exercises and stuff. So I know sickle cell trait seems to be the top one on the list, but there are other conditions like ours that can cause secondary health complications, and with rhabdo as a connection, with the severe muscle breakdown and the toxins leaking, the negative potassium and all the stuff that leaks out of the muscles into the bloodstream, the myoglobin, and then the kidneys can't filter all that. And then now for some people, it's swelling in those limbs, or some people it's nauseated type of symptoms in their stomach. Everybody's different, but it seems to be at the core of those conversations.
There's a simple blood test we can do to look for it, and a urine test.
Yeah.
So, we have TraitTribeTalks.com now, and I think I put it on here somewhere where people can come and get information, see some more about your story. We're gonna, we're doing the Trait Tribes, where the Trait Tribe Talks, to help people learn everything that you're saying. It's a process, because you're talking about a disease process that's based on the blood,
right?
Genetics, like DNA, and the blood, and those two things are everywhere in your body. There's no place where you don't need blood,
right?
And then there's the blood's job is to get oxygen. So at the core, rhabdomyolysis is breakdown of muscle because they're not getting the adequate oxygen, and things are clogged. The pathways are clogged. Right. So between the clogging and just the blood cells flipping and not carrying oxygen like they should, your muscles can't sustain, and the acid builds up. Yeah. Right? Like when you get a Charlie horse, I think that could be a way of understanding the pain that people with sickle cell trait go through. It would be like a Charlie horse on speed. Worst Charlie horse a person can imagine, because you can see that their body will contort and their limbs will like cramp, and they can't uncramp it, and it's extremely painful because there's no oxygen.
Yeah. And so with those conversations and finally moving forward today with is sickle cell trait benign or not, as we had that campaign going, for the last few years, as you said, it turned the corner. They had to go all the way to the UK to get it to turn the corner, though. But at least they were able to do it somewhere where the doctors came from all over the nation to sit and have a discussion and talk through it. And Dr. O'Connor was one of those doctors from the military college who went there and was a part of that conversation. So very, very grateful for that needle to be moving positive.
And thalassemia, I think, might have been included in that conversation. When you have thalassemia and sickle cell trait, you have two different hits to your blood. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is you could actually inherit both from one parent, because the thalassemia defect sits at a different loci, LOCI, than the sickle cell trait. Mm. So it's two different parts of that beta gene that are being affected. So you could even have three, right? You could have two betas and a sickle trait.
And we've known someone whose family who lost their son and they knew that he was a trait carrier, but they didn't know about the
Thalassemia.
And
I had there was a question online that the team asked me about. They check the post and sometimes ask me. So it's, on Facebook, go ahead and put your questions in the journals. We're in the journals. An inscription, you can come to inscription and get a consultation. But if everyone just goes to TraitTribeTalks.com, they can find me, they can find you, WDC on SET, they can find us. There's multiple ways to find us.
Yes.
There was a question about low iron and trait and ferritin, and that person needs a consultation.
Yeah.
Because I have to make sure that there's no thalassemia.
Exactly.
Because if they have low iron, because of thalassemia and trait,
right,
and I give them iron, I'm going to swell the spleen. It's not that simple. But now we have a way to help people. We want people to get in touch with us. When I hear about another rhabdo case in a trait patient specifically, my heart sinks.
Yeah.
I want to scream at a mountaintop. We're here. Come, let us help you.
Yeah. It's all of that, reestablishing trust factors in the medical community. It's them hearing our stories. Remember that there was one family that was kind of skeptical about joining your consultation because they was like, who are they? It was like, we've been around for a minute, and so we're just here to share our message, share our story, and give people an opportunity to get some care. Dr. Maisha is licensed in like 20 states, as far as I know. So you might be in one of those states where she can, reach out to you and have a conversation on that level. So we just want you to know that there is care. There are people out here, and this conversation is not done. We've been at it for 15 years, but it is still so much more to be addressed with this conversation around sickle cell trait. As she shared, I knew that it was possible to have both of those genes of having sickle cell trait because we've done testing in our runs of doing community testing and mobile testing, and people came back with their results like, hey, I found out I got thalassemia trait with my sickle cell trait. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then it was like the A2 percentage, and it was like, okay, so that's when I started in like 2017, like, okay, wait a minute, with the Medilab, like, hold on, man, we've discovered something that I didn't know about possibly having two inherited genes, a sickle cell trait gene and a alpha thalassemia gene, right? And so, Dr. Maisha, how does that, because they do have newborn screening, right? So there is newborn screening, and again, for most people, it depends on your state. You have to check and see when they started testing, because you could be 30 plus years old and not have been screened when you were born, right? Because it just started sometime somewhere in the 90s. So with the newborn screening and the way that they find the beta thalassemia, like sickle beta thal, what process, is that? Because you got to do you got to look at two different things, right? In order to determine.
Well, with beta thal, it's not that hard. Well, let me say it like this. You can get a clue from the basic sickle cell screen.
Okay.
That's what that A2%. So that A2% can tell you if there's alpha or beta, if it's significant enough.
Right.
If it's borderline, even if you think you see it, it's better to have a genetic test.
Yeah.
Getting the genetic test covered by insurance is another question, right? So it's better to get genetic testing for alpha and beta and find out you can have more than one. Find out what's going on. That's much better.
Yeah. So it's definitely important. Again, I recommend when I meet people who say they have sickle cell trait and they say their symptoms are so close to sickle beta thal, I'm like, you know what? When was the last time you had that hemoglobin electrophoresis? Because you might want to go back and start this process over again and get some new blood work, get a new CBC, reach out to Dr. Maisha and see, what those numbers are, because your CBC numbers can help determine if there's something going on. As you said, some people can have both genes and have anemia issues, right? And now they feel it may not be the disease, but you still have an anemia issue with your traits.
Right. You can have an anemia issue, and there's you have to get the full CBC, which is called a CBC with differential. So you have to get the one with there's a lot of different numbers on there, and I can interpret that. It gives me a clue. The problem with trait is there's nothing that's like, when you feel sick and you have strep throat and they do the test and they say, okay, your strep test is bad. There's nothing that's so definitive. There's all these small things.
Yeah.
Your hemoglobin electrophoresis actually can change. So that's one of our goals when we take care of patients.
Yeah, that was a question. Can it change?
Yeah, so because the hemoglobin electrophoresis is measuring proteins, not DNA. So how much protein is in the system of a particular nature can constantly change, right? So you can have more hemoglobin, which makes up your red blood cells. More of that hemoglobin protein can be from the sickle gene, or less if it can.
And I saw that because when I looked at my documentation, one of my A2 numbers were lower than the other one. One was kind of high. One was like 3.7. I think the other one was like 3.2. And I'm like, wait a minute. Do I need to like really do more research with my alpha gene? Because how can one be lower in this test, and then years later I do this test and it's actually a little bit higher, which is, I think the max is 3.5, right?
Correct. Usually, and it depends on the assay. It'll give you their range. Every assay is a little different. The assays are getting better. The science is progressing and they're getting more sensitive, more specific in general with mostly everything, really. So, and you're changing. You're constantly changing. So with the interventions that we try to do for people, one of the things I look at is whether or not that percent gets better. If there's less sickle percent, because that's what we want, right? We want to take herbs and supplements and diet and lifestyle to make that less, so that your healthy blood and your healthy protein is more. You want to signal that to the body so that it'll produce a healthier outcome.
Reduce some of that acid, in the body.
You definitely, any inflammation, extra acidity, we know in the Eastern medicine world, we know that that's not good for you. You need to be balanced. You don't want to be over basic either.
Right.
So people they want to drink alkaline water that's 9.9. You will be sick. You don't need water.
In reverse. You'll be sick in reverse.
Yeah, it's too much. Everything is about what we call homeostasis. Yeah. Everything has to be in a balance, right? You don't want anything to be too much this way or too much that way ever.
Yeah. I know that, we are doing some things, but there's a question that says, do you know of any, if there are any studies funding research currently for the trait?
There's always new studies coming out. I think on Dom's journal, he usually puts out if they're doing something. I don't know of a current study, but I can check.
No, I know the last one that I participated in was with the military college, which I think they're in their second phase now of that study. But I know Dr. Tim Randolph was working on a study that he was having such a hard time in St. Louis to get participants,
getting people
to come in, and so shouts out to him. That's my other angel in the flesh.
Yeah,
Dr.
He's
Randolph.
Pretty awesome.
He is.
I spoke to his wife a couple weeks back. I need to check in with her. Yeah. I don't see a new study.
And that's what we want to push. That's what we need. We need to figure out how to get the trait doctor to get some studies going on, so we can.
I would love to do to get some studies going on, especially clinical, and we may have something brewing we're working on. Yeah. Clinical, actually real world clinical studies. Looking at the patients that we are taking care of, and collectively, no individual person's information, but collectively, and seeing how are they progressing. We've had some success that's very exciting, and we want to duplicate that and make sure we understand what are the factors that are creating that success. How do we make that something that we can standardize, so we can come up with a protocol that patients with trait can do in general, So we have our internal protocol, but we definitely need to do a study or a trial to vet it and to make sure that it can be reproduced. You know, things that are very extreme, like this CRISPR that's coming up for sickle cell, these things have a lot of risk associated with them.
Yeah, yeah.
So if your sickle cell is not horrible or your trait, then there may be things we can do that aren't as severe as going in and altering your genes.
Right.
Because that's I give people this example. When they got rid of the thorns on roses, the smell went away too. The smell went away too.
Tell them for the people in the back.
Now, I don't fault anybody.
I love that. I love that. I love that.
You know, if you're in the hospital every month, every 2 weeks, you know, it's very understandable for such a person to say, go ahead and do the CRISPR. Right. Go ahead and do the bone marrow transplant. Anything's better than this. I'm not living life. You know, so I don't fault people. I'm simply saying if we can find a way without having to that should be our last resort is all I'm saying. Now, UCSF may be in some trials, but I think those are all for sickle cell anemia, not the trait.
Yeah, Dr. O'Connor's, he's doing the trait study for the military. And
the military, though, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, anybody could participate in that one when they started.
Is he still doing that one?
They're in their. I think they're in their second phase, though. They're in their second phase.
Because there's some studies that were coming up, but like we've been, you know, they've been going on. So I think that's what we have to look at.
The biggest study we need is a list of folks so we can start tracking a registry because
a registry would be helpful.
We've been at 2.5 to 4 million for since the 70s.
I don't think that's quite right.
Numbers are old.
They're pretty old. Yeah. Now, what is better for trait carriers, folate or folic? There's not really a difference.
Yeah.
Folic acid is what it's called. Folate is usually the test.
Oh, okay.
So you want 1 milligram of that per day. Okay, a full. That you need to take that vitamin every day when you have sickle cell trait. Don't miss. 1 milligram, and it's usually written as micrograms. So if it's written as micrograms, and there's no place on here for me to write, is it? Okay, can I write over here?
You can.
So it'll either say 1,000 mcg, which is the same as 1 milligram, and that's daily. Okay, Lene? Yeah, we've had some great successes over the past year. We are pretty excited. The trait clinic is growing, and we're trying to get a handle on it. We're at that growth point where I wish I didn't have to work anywhere else, but I still do. So if we could grow enough, then I can give you 100. I can give you guys 100% of my attention, which is what I'd like to do.
Right.
So we're just at that weird growth point. But please come and check us out. Let us help you. It's, there's a general protocol that I do, but it's still individualized. So this may work well for one person, but the other person may need the other thing. So there's just a lot that can be done, but we need to see what your constitution is. So in Eastern medicine, we understand that people have a constitution, like a hot and dry constitution or a cold and wet constitution. Right. So that your constitution matters, and that's going to impact what's going to work better for you.
There was a question about winter sports. Any warnings for winter sports? Also, are some more effective by winter and others by summer? Yeah, people don't think that you can be dehydrated in winter.
Well, in the winter, the issue is not dehydration.
Yeah.
In the winter, the main issue is constriction of your vessels.
See, I know she would give more medical terms, ladies and gentlemen. So elaborate on that, please.
when it's cold, your body wants to hold heat in. So to do that, it tightens your blood vessels. So now you've got these sickled and stuck together. Imagine each one of these is a blood cell, and that's the vessel, and it can't get through. It's stuck, right? So in the summer, that blood vessel is going to be maybe that big. It can get through. In the winter, it's that big. It can't get through. Yeah. So it's going to be depending on your constitution. But if you're constricting more, you're going to have more trouble in the winter. The other issue in the winter, some winter sports are going to be in the mountains at an elevation. Well, when you go up higher in elevation, there's less what?
Oxygen.
Less oxygen. So the less oxygen means those blood cells that are already ready to fold over, that are already stiff and sticky, but could stay better if they had plenty of oxygen on them. Well, now they're not going to have that plenty of oxygen. So they're just going to stick to each other more. Right. A person with no issues will have trouble at altitude, let alone someone with sickle cell or sickle cell trait.
Right. And somebody Janae wants to know, are you seeing people virtually or in person?
Both.
Both.
And it just depends on your situation. I do request an in-person visit. So in the beginning for consultation, it doesn't matter. That's virtual. Once you decide to become our patient, to be a member of the clinic, then at least once a year, we need to see you in person. But we also do travel. So sometimes that can work out. I have traveled to states where there are patients and satisfied that once a year. If I have a critical mass of patients in a particular state, then it makes more sense for me to come to you.
Right.
Especially because you're the one that's not well. Right. So if I can come to you, that's better. If we can get, funding sources also to make it so that we can facilitate coming to you. And we do have the capability to do some pretty significant interventions. Fill all the beans.
For real,
We can do some invasive, some that are a little bit more invasive and some that are very, just real easy to do at home. So we have the gamut.
And we know that, across, again, with the numbers, you talk about, 300 million people plus have sickle cell trait, and millions still don't know that they're carriers, and millions still don't know that they may be alpha, sickle cell trait and alpha combined with their anemia issues, or even that might be walking around with sickle beta thalassemia, thinking that they're only trait carriers that don't know. So there's a whole conversation. Like I said, sickle cell trait has its own awareness, education, and prevention, but it also connects when it's starting to, when we have these families and having couples who want to have a baby, they need to be able to know and have these, especially if they know they're trait carriers. You have had people ask questions. Are you a trait carrier? No. Okay. And they get married and have a baby with sickle cell SC disease. And they're wondering why was the baby born with sickle cell SC? Because one of the parents had C trait and didn't know, didn't get tested. So this is a serious public health issue as a conversation around sports, military, and again, when you talk about having a child. And so I appreciate Dr. Maisha for being here. You want to touch let's so Denver, shouts out to MB Radio for being in Denver. And when I shared my story here,
so significant
in 2021, it was like they were like, man, we don't even know what sickle cell. He couldn't even barely say it. Sickle what? And so I was like, yeah. So when I shared my story and how important it is, and then a few years later, Ronnie Hillman passes away, who was a Denver Bronco, won a championship in Denver. We're in a place where you think you have the best doctors, right, for athletes at the football, NFL, professional level, and he didn't find out until a few months before he passed away that he actually had lived with RMC, which is a sickle cancer connected directly to sickle cell trait. And when he posted a few months later, he passed away. And so Denver Bronco fans here in Denver, so it was this place to have this show is such a significant opportunity to be on this platform that connected to Denver. But then there was a young man who, had a regular, I won't say a regular job, but had a job, right? And had some aspirations that I want something better for my family. I want something better for my life. And he's like, I'm gonna go be a police officer, right?
Right.
And he knew he was a trait carrier, so he was aware of
Right.
his body and his inherited gene, and signed up and went into the police academy in Colorado, in Denver, and had a couple of episodes during the training. And when I seen that photo of him, losing his legs, I was like, that's got to be, that's like a worst case of rhabdo. What when you saw that photo, when I shared it back then, what?
My heart hurt. Like,
oh my
I
God.
still, like, my eyes are misty right now. If anybody knows me, they know that my eyes are misty right now. It's sad. It's so scary. And to think we could have prevented it potentially. We could potentially have prevented that for him.
Yeah.
Because he was just told, be careful with whom you procreate. This is very inadequate. It's not enough. You need to know a lot more than that.
Yeah, and I believe he did tell them when the medics were looking at it, like, hey, I got sickle cell trait. You need to take care of me, and they cleared him. They cleared him for those exercises to continue.
Right.
And unfortunately,
and we're happy to come educate any place. We have lectures prepared. We are happy to come to the police departments, to the military barracks. We already do the military tour at WDC on SCT, already does the military tour. We are happy to come and educate the different institutional partners. And we would love to come and explain how this works, so the signs and what to do and how to do it, and how to preserve the people that are serving us.
definitely. I want you to touch on this. Let's disappear some myths and stigmas while we're here this afternoon. Most people think that sickle cell trait or disease or anemia is a Black gene. We own that. We are number one, yes, because of where our DNA comes from. If malaria is present in your ancestry, you too might be connected to a sickle cell trait. So yes, that is number one for African Americans. However, today in 2025, and most recently, you can be of any nationality. It's no longer a skin color conversation. It is a DNA bloodline topic. And so you can be Caucasian, Mediterranean, Asian, Hispanic is number two. So it's not, I thought about just going on tour for the rest of my life and just campaign that sickle cell trait is not a Black gene. Just travel the world saying that, and wondering if that would even move the needle, that people would start to be a comment. Because you could say HIV or AIDS and the whole world knows about, like, we need campaigns like that. Like, you say HIV or AIDS and the whole world knows what that is, right? But yet when you say, an inherited gene that combats malaria, of sickle cell trait, or like our cousins thalassemia, C trait, like the people, like, they're not aware of that. And I'm like, we need a campaign, on that level. But what do you want to say about the other cultures that are connected to this gene?
I think it's the truth of the matter is that we're all mixed up. And there's a lot of data pointing to the origins of life being in Africa. Right. So at the end of the day, we're all African on a certain level, right? We're all descendants of Africa. We're all mixed up. There's a tremendous amount of mobility in the world right now.
Yes.
For the past few decades, we don't know who you don't know what your bloodline is. Yes. For example, Sicily had a lot of Africans, right? So Italians and Sicilians have just as much chance as anybody else of having trait.
Yeah.
For example, and Greeks, from Greece. So anybody in the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
India. In India, they don't even really distinguish between trait and disease. They just put it all in the same basket. and treat you based on how you present. What are your symptoms? Which is what really makes the most sense, because we're so busy in Western medicine. We want to know, is it sickle, beta, 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 alpha, sickle, C, D, E, F, G, X, Y, P, L, M, N, O, P?
Right.
At the end of the day, the thing that matters is what is it doing to you?
Right.
Because somebody could have 4 different traits and they're fine. They can do whatever they want because maybe they naturally have larger blood vessels that accommodates the way their cells are moving. They have something else that's balancing it. They do a better job of absorbing their vitamin B9, right? Whatever it is, and there are different types of betas and different types of alphas.
Right. The alphas alone have minor,
Are you beta not? Are you beta minor? Are you beta major?
0.
Right. 0 plus 1, which
plus,
and so we can spend so much time getting into those weeds. But the fact remains, we need to treat the patient.
Yes.
What is the patient feeling? And I think that I answer very quickly for folate and folic. Because at the end of the day, one is synthetic, one is from your food. It's listed a certain way on the testing. What matters is that you need to take supplementation, right? Yeah. It's not going to be adequate to just get it from your food. You need to take supplementation, right? So if you see vitamin B9, folate, folic, take it.
B12 too, or just B9?
B12 is good for a lot of reasons. Okay. I'm starting to realize that, B12 helps your nerves specifically. And I'm starting to feel, just my clinical gestalt, that the B12 numbers that we put out as normal are underrepresented for what we really need.
Oh, really?
I'm starting to feel that. I see that people who take higher amounts of B12, there is such a thing as too much. You can have vitamin toxicity. Right. But there's a middle ground. So I think we need a slightly higher amount.
Really?
And that doesn't directly relate because it's not a macrocytic anemia that you're dealing with in trait. It's more of a microcytic anemia that you'll end up dealing with. Yeah. However, it can boost your energy, help you think more clearly, and combat some of the fatigue by a completely different pathway. So, that's one of the reasons I don't believe in vegetarianism. Yeah. Because you can get good B12 from red meat. You have to be careful. You need to eat clean meat that's been killed properly.
Right.
You have to make sure where it's sourced from. How are the animals treated?
Right.
But you need some red meat. I'm not an extremist on anything.
Yeah.
I believe in the herbs, but I'm thankful that we have Western medicine. If I'm septic, I bring me a plant.
You need something right away. Yeah, you need something right now.
Antibiotics,
you need something right now.
Right. I explain Western medicine is like the bazooka or the grenade. And sometimes the grenade is what's needed. You need
sometimes we need them. Y'all, my military people know. Sometimes we need to pull the pin. Sometimes we just need to pull the pin. They ain't got time for all that other stuff. Just pull the pin.
Sometimes you got to do that. The wisdom is knowing when. And we've got many, many years of experience on knowing when now. Yeah. And that's what we want to share with people. Because, in July, you sent me another young man who passed.
I know, yeah.
With his sweet, smiling face.
Yeah.
I think it was a Jamaican brother.
Yeah.
And 18.
Yeah.
I actually cried. I never met him. I actually cried.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, what is that mother going through? And I could have helped her.
Yeah. She's grieving. I reach out to her when I see her on Facebook, and she's warming up. She's warming up to us. She's getting close to reaching out to help move that conversation forward with her and her family. But she's definitely in that grieving phase still.
It's going to be very difficult because then, the issue becomes, wait a minute, I could have done something.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother level. So her not wanting to rush over to us is 100% understandable in my mind. you know, because that's going to be a whole nother level of opening back up that can of worms. And wait a minute, there were options here.
Yeah.
No one told me. And that's what we want to avoid. We want all of you, please get the word out. Let people know that we're here, that we're doing this work, that it's not all in your head. You know, it's interesting because like finally Lyme disease has gotten traction in the medical community.
Right?
Where it's off topic, but it's significant. I know doctors who lost their licenses for treating Lyme disease, you know, and long-term sequelae of Lyme disease, and now we know that it's true.
Really?
You know, so it's just, you have to walk carefully, you know, and go slowly, but you know.
But there's something there. There's something there. Change is coming. Well, there was a comment here. Hold on, let me pull it up. Do trait carriers suffer from a high rate of depression? Not believing that. Well, I mean that's I would say yes.
I haven't seen this study, you know, evidence-based study, but absolutely from experience.
Yes.
Trait carriers are depressed. Their parents are depressed. It is extremely, it's a type of medical trauma, medical gaslighting.
Yeah.
And it's not intentional. I don't know if it's fair to call it gaslighting. It's not intentional.
Yeah.
We are trained that it is benign.
Yes.
Right? And
which is the next question right there. Is it benign or not? Not no more.
Make you lose your legs. Like,
not no more. It's not benign no more.
Lose your spleen, if you can die, if you can get a cancer.
Right? Blood clots.
You can lose babies. Like, you tell me.
That is not benign.
All right. Like,
one more before
dormant and not bother you. Yeah.
Let's talk one more stigma. We did a myth. Let's do a stigma. The issue with
drug seeking.
No, not that. No, that one's a good one. But no, this is more of discrimination.
Yes.
On how people with sickle cell trait could fear being discriminated in sports or careers that when they are tested for, and they are tested to be sickle cell trait carriers, AS, that they might not qualify or be disqualified because of that inherited gene.
So legally, they can't legally do that to you. Now, this is where trait is way different from disease, right? They can't legally preclude you. They used to be able to. We have something called the ADA law, the American Disabilities Act. So they can't discriminate against you. Not that they won't find ways, because what they'll do with discrimination is they'll put it on something else. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you were late to work 3 times, we have to fire you. Whereas someone else was late to work 10 times and didn't get fired.
Right.
Or you missed too many hoops, so we don't think you should be on the team. But really, it's because you have trait, and they're afraid, right? So discrimination is going to happen, dear. It's going to happen. You might, I get discriminated because I'm short.
Right. It's not because of inherited gene, and the beauty of it is, let's talk about from the mental health aspect of it, right? Because the depression that could come from, my career was ended, from my exertion, and I had secondary health issues with the arthritis and having to take Humira and be on medication. So I became non-deployable, and because now I'm in a non-deployable status, guess what, buddy? Your career is over. So yes, there are things that, that can happen. However, if you discover what you were born to be about, it may not even be about the job that you're trying to get to survive life. There are other ways that we can be a part of NFL teams and basketball teams professionally, that you could get another type of job and make just as much money doing that job versus being the person on the field catching the pass or shooting the jumper. There are so many ways and 40,000 plus kind of jobs. But I share with people in our community, just because you couldn't join the military doesn't mean you can't be a soldier for your cause. It doesn't mean that you can't use those same military mindset skills to move your conversation where you're fulfilled in it. A lot of times we take jobs because out of survival and necessity, and to, I gotta, or our environment perpetuates that you gotta be a military, police, gang, drug dealer, or athlete, when there's so much more that God has given you inside of you, like everything that you needed, you're born with. And so to have that conversation, so don't worry about being excluded. It may not even be for you. So sometimes we want to be a part of stuff that we don't even need to be a part of.
Exactly.
Like we're being left out, and that's a sense of belonging, human being flaw. So our community, we have so much talent. I mean, so much talent in our
very
community.
Talented.
So
so much.
Sometimes don't worry about those other people. Let's just figure out what fulfills you. And sometimes it's not about how much money you make. It's just about ultimately having a life that you are fulfilled in.
Yes.
And make some money doing that. So
exactly.
Don't get stuck in that discrimination. Like she said, the system is going to be the system. It's how you think about the system is your freedom.
You gotta shed that. Don't walk around with that chip on your shoulder. Your life is more important than whether or not you're going to be discriminated against, right? Like you could die, like if we don't take care of it. And the thing is, that's one of the things we can help you with, right? We have some products. The letters are a separate product for us because it's so much work.
Yeah.
For us to put those letters together and those documents together. So that is a separate thing we have to charge for, just because it's my time.
Right.
And so, but we can write letters that say, yes, this person can do this. You just have to have these resources in place.
Right.
And as long as they have these resources in place, and when they say stop, you stop.
Right.
Give them a minute, then it's fine. There's no reason why you can't take a break and practice and hydrate. They have oxygen on the sideline anyway, because you can have sudden cardiac death, which you need oxygen for. Sudden cardiac event, for example, also needs oxygen. You can have resources available, IV fluids, different resources available on the sidelines. So if your dream is to play, you can play.
Yes.
That's the thing about trade. Trade doesn't stop you from playing. Trade doesn't stop you from being a genius professor, top of your career.
No.
Trade doesn't stop you from flying all over the world or being an airman, a pilot. You just have to take your precautions.
Yes. Know your body. Pay attention. Pay attention to your body. I even started, looking at this is where I got challenged at, Dr. Maisha. I've been in church now full force the last 6 years, and we don't know when, where, why, how people die, right? We have opinions, but we have no say so, right? Even in the deaths that we see in our athletes, like it's heart-wrenching, but we don't know. And so I'm even looking at, like, can we have these kind of conversations to prevent premature deaths, right? I'm looking at for myself, how am I going to language my next 15, 20 years of my advocacy, right?
I don't even like saying premature death.
You don't like that one either?
But no, because we're sitting in judgment saying that God took his slave before he was supposed to.
So how do we share from the?
I like to say we could have prevented a trait death. Potentially. It doesn't mean that person wasn't going to die from something else.
Right.
If it was their day to die,
right,
then they maybe would have died from something else.
I got attacked a while back about prevention. You can't prevent. What do you mean by prevention? I'm like, well, hold on. Like, prevention meaning having the opportunity to be tested and know your status and
it's just because we're an individualistic society.
Ooh, that democracy is.
Yeah, no, we look at prevention, materialistic and individualistic. We look at democracy. I mean, astaghfirullah. We look at a prevention in the lens of me as a person who's already here.
Right.
How do I keep?
And that's why that. Yeah.
How do I keep from getting the flu?
Right.
How do I prevent the flu? Right. I wear my mask and
right.
my hand sanitizer. That's our mentality towards prevention.
Right.
But preventing a child from being born with sickle cell, we don't think about it that way because we don't even think about marriage that way.
Right.
Right. I fall in love with you, so I marry you. We don't think about, ooh, this is probably not a good match.
Yeah.
These two families are never going to get along. So we might want to keep looking. We don't think like that.
But you know who did? The Jewish community did with Tay-Sachs.
Mm-hmm. With Tay-Sachs, because they married old world. One of the ways of choosing your mate for life, you have to look at something other than attraction.
Yes.
When you meet someone, you think you love them, that is attraction.
Yeah.
Love is built brick by brick. Real love is a thing. Yeah. And so before you get to that point of having real love for someone, you should test for a few things like HIV,
yeah,
etc. Need I say more? And sickle cell trait, and C trait, and D trait, and thalassemia.
Exactly.
And then you might still decide to move forward, but you will move forward with your eyes open, knowing that this can happen. And then you can already have your resources in place.
Exactly.
Right? Because there's so many ethical issues that come up when we do the amniotic testing,
right?
Or the blood testing for things like trisomy 21 and Down syndrome. So some people say, I don't want to know. And that's valid.
Yes.
Knowing what happens is people get pushed into abortion.
Yes.
That's what people are worried about. But you don't have to move that way. You can just be prepared.
Yeah.
Start having resources in place. I have like a 90% chance of having a child with Down syndrome. Let me get some resources in place.
Do you remember the show that we did together? And they said that 96% of the women didn't know that they were trait carriers, or their spouse or their partners were trait carriers. Remember that talk we did?
Right.
I was like, wow, 96% didn't know.
They did not know. That was a study I reported.
Yeah.
I need to see what it's looking like now. I'm hoping that's changed. But they didn't know. So if two people have trait, you got a 1 in 4 chance against a chance. So that means you might have 10 kids and none of them have it.
Right.
Right? But they're definitely going to have trait. If you both have trait, some of those children are going to have trait.
Not trait, yeah.
Right? But they may not have. No, I take that back. They may not have trait.
Yeah, because
they may all get your A gene from each parent. God can do whatever he wants. I can't control that. Or they might all have sickle cell.
Right. Or a mixture.
But the chances based on the Punnett square is 1 in 4.
But see, some people take that 1 in 4 as, and I saw a post the other day, and it was like, the 1 in 4 is with each pregnancy. It's not that you have one child today with trait and your next child is going to be automatically be A.
Right.
A. No, that's with each pregnancy. That
with each pregnancy, you have a 25% chance.
Right.
If you have two parents with trait,
yes.
With each pregnancy, you have a 25% chance that you're going to have a child. That child is going to be born with sickle cell. With each pregnancy, you have a 50% chance that child is going to have trait.
Yeah.
And with each pregnancy, you have a 25% chance that child will be AA normal.
Right. Each pregnancy, though, that's the people don't realize it's each pregnancy. And some people think, well, I've got one already with AA, so then my next one will probably be the trait. So they have a child, and then what do you mean? Like it's like no, like it's with each it doesn't skip generations. Like I said, we have no control over none of that. So with each pregnancy, those numbers start over. They start over.
Correct. That's how the genetics works.
You anything you want to say before we go before we end this segment here? Because I want to ask you about my resilience and perseverance since you got a psychology background, so I want to see.
I
see what your
do.
take is on this.
I want people to remain positive.
Yes.
To realize that we are living in an amazing time where we can help with whatever is going on. We have an infrastructure built for you now that we did not have before. And I probably have mentioned it way too many times, but I am excited that we have a way to improve your quality of life.
Yes.
I see myself as a servant that improves the quality of life of any human being that God allows me to interact with, whom God allows me to interact. So I would like to serve the community in that way, and it costs money so people can donate.
Yeah.
We have to feed ourselves and feed our families, and we got to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
So that we have that infrastructure. We got to have supplies so people can help in so many ways. If you are a family member of someone with you, you can help us. You can contribute to WDC on SET, help the veterans too, and the military personnel who are tasked. They're just the guys on the ground. Their job is to make it so that we aren't having bombs dropping on us.
Right.
They keep us safe. We can live our lives freely. We have to protect them and take care of them. Whatever your political views are, at the end of the day, wherever you live, that standing army is protecting you. So we have to take care of all of that. We have to really help each other and know that the solution is inside the problem.
Yes. Most definitely. You just got to be willing to look. You just got to be willing to look and see. And thank you for the comment. We do this for real. We do this for real because of our own personal, experiences and the care for others as a doctor cares for her patients and people, as we both. I'm grateful that God put this burden on my heart, and allowed me to experience it, because I'm not talking to you from about it. I'm talking from it. So this is our life. And so thank you for that comment there. All right, before we get out of here, I opened up this show with the discussions of what it is to be resilient, right? And how human beings, we think that we're so resilient, and a lot of things that we language show up like a badge of honor. Like I'm a resilient person. But to be resilient means that you have the ability to bounce back, right? And take on that task. And as I shared earlier, sometimes we do things in life that start off fun and exciting and entertaining, and then when there's a wedge that comes up to where you got to do some real work, it's like, you know what? I don't think I want to do this no more, right? And then you don't complete the project. You just walk away from it and think that nobody's gonna know or whatever. But your own mind is beating you up because you started this task and you didn't finish it. And you want to finish it, but you don't think whatever you think about yourself. And so I believe that, for human beings, it's challenging. I'm not saying that we can't be resilient, but I'm saying that for human beings, it is challenging for us to be resilient, to bounce back and do a project or whatever, take on that process, because of, sometimes I talk to myself like I'm not good enough for this project, or I'm not worth it, or who's going to care. There are days I have this advocacy work that I've been in for 15 years, and I still wake up like, man, what are you doing? Nobody cares about this conversation. And then I look in the mirror about what I went through, and then I look at people who have had their experiences, and I'm like, oh yeah, nobody. Like, you got to snap out of that. Like, you need to get back and have these conversations. And so
you can get down for a moment, but you got to stand back up, and things are going to happen, and the road is going to get rocky. But you got to keep going. You have to keep going. So resilience is just when you get down and depressed, you get smushed in, you pop back out.
Yeah. Quickly.
And it's a choice.
Ooh. Yeah, because if you're doing a project they don't want to do anymore, that's what I was saying. If you're doing something that you take on and you don't want to do it anymore, and there's people involved in it, let the people know, like, hey, y'all have a meeting. Hey, you know what? We started this project. I'm going to complete it because I think that I want to go and take on something else. And really, that's the power that we have that we don't think that we have, because I realized that even the sickle cell advocacy work, I made it up. I made it up, and I get stuck that it has to look a certain way, that I can only do it this way, and I have to remind myself, bro, you made the plan up, so you could change the plan. You can go a different direction today if you want to. But we forget that we make up these ideas and we create them, and then we get stuck inside of them because maybe we didn't think the whole plan through first. Maybe you gotta go talk to people and look at the unforeseen consequences of these projects that we take on and see if that's something that you really want to do before you just start doing them. So so my part of that resilience is the soul. The soul needs that. It wants that resilience. It wants the mind, the will, emotions to survive. We want to say that we're resilient to survive life, but the other word is perseverance, and the spiritual context of perseverance and what that offers to push through, even what's the definition? Even when it's difficult.
Correct. And one of the things that I want people to think about, you actually become healthier when you do the opposite of what you want to do. It strengthens your brain. It's a protection against things like dementia and memory loss. You know, if you when you that's the whole psychology of the military, right? Mm-hmm. There's no enemy at that moment. They make you get up at 4 a.m.
to train and
in
practice.
Your bed so you can bounce a quarter off of it.
Yeah.
You don't want to do any of that, but it makes you a better, faster, stronger, more resilient human being.
Yeah.
Doing you, and this is very spiritual now, right?
Mm-hmm. That's perseverance.
To go higher, to a higher vibration that's full of light, you literally have to do the opposite of your desire. Mm-hmm. When you want to sit, you stand. When you want to walk, you run. When you want to run, you walk. Mm-hmm. When you want to stand, you sit. You want to scream, stay silent. Mm-hmm. You want to stay silent, speak up. Doing that opposite of what you want to do. See, that wanting to do is your lower self.
Right.
It's your lower vibration. It's the vibration that is just like a slug. It just eats, sleeps, voids, and
we call that self-loathing.
You know, that's the self,
the low mood stress.
Yeah, it's the self-reproaching soul. It's at the bottom of the totem pole. And it does have some rights.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Because if you don't have it, you won't eat it all. You wither away and die. You know? So it has its usefulness, but it has to be disciplined and do the opposite. So literally doing the opposite. When you feel like quitting, don't quit.
See, the difference in perseverance is continued effort to do or achieve something despite of difficulties, failures, or opposition. Steadfastness in doing something despite delay in achieving success.
Correct.
And that's why I'm saying in the resilience of the mind, will, and emotion is not even about the success. It's about surviving what you're doing. It's about surviving that task. And now that task is not fun. So now you're surviving, and it's now you got to go to work, a job that you took that you was excited to take at first, and then now this job is no good, is boring now. Well, did the job change or did your mind change?
Your mind changed.
Right.
Exactly.
So now this job ain't fun no more. So then I got to go do something else. And so, but that perseverance is that spiritual level that she was pointing out, where you can continue. The key word is continue, not bounce. You're not bouncing back. You're continuing to push through.
That's the difference between perseverance and resilience. Yeah. Resilience is there's a challenge that pushes you down and throws you off.
Yes.
Perseverance is that you don't stop.
And you might be the one throwing you off. My point is you might be the one throwing you off. That's the whole part of why I had this conversation today. Because you might be the one throwing you off.
Usually it is you.
Yeah, not
you're
the
making
haters.
up a bunch of. You might even be making up the haters.
Exactly.
They may not even hate you. You done made it up.
They done made up. Your biggest hater is your own subconscious
mind. They look
mind.
to be funny.
Exactly. Thank you, Dr. Maisha, for helping me complete that conversation today around resilience and perseverance. And there's only, again, because you have to be able to tell the difference. You know, your heart wants to survive and make sure everything is done right. and your spirit wants to be free to make mistakes and be free to change. And I want to do this now. And that's the battle in the mind. You want to be free, but you don't want to look bad. You want to look good. You don't want to be wrong. You don't want to be right. You may not want to, you might have a solution and don't want to say nothing because who's going to listen to me? I'm not nobody. How can I help that cause? I'm not anybody. No, you got a voice in all of this conversation.
That's right. You could be holding that key. You don't
right?
know who the key was given to.
Right. We don't know. And so you might be the one that has that conversation, that missing piece of that puzzle that we need. Right? So don't hold out. Find your courage.
And find your niche, find your place. You know, we all have something amazing to contribute. I'm thankful that I'm a physician. Right? I'm thankful for that. It was very hard. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I definitely had to be resilient and persistent. Yeah. And I'm like a septuplet. I'm super diverse, you know. So that didn't necessarily, we're talking 25 years ago. That was not necessarily in my favor. You know, but I flip it and I make it in my favor. Because I can go in and speak to the farm workers that are, tend to largely be Latino. And I can speak to them in Spanish.
Right.
You know, it gets to be when I'm long enough in a clinic, they're like, oh, wow, no, we want you. You know, I did a whole patient interview in Arabic the other day.
No way. Mm-hmm. That's legit.
You know, legit. The West Africans, most of Africa, they speak French.
Yeah.
You know, they speak English or French, and then they speak their native language.
Right.
You know, so I can get by with them because I'm well traveled.
Yeah.
I've been all over the world, and in my mind, I've been everywhere. You know.
Thank you. No, that's to God be the glory. I'm just thankful that He used me and my experiences to survive and live to tell my story. And just very grateful to help and continue to help until I'm out of here. This is I know that He gave me that gene in my mother's womb to go through. The military was the portion of that. I look at it like the seed, right? Like He plants those seeds in us, right? And then it's got to be the right time, the right environment for that seed. And it was in that military that day was it was time for that seed to open up and break through that soil, and here I am, and I made it through the depression.
To make change, to save lives, and you're still doing that.
Yeah, so I'm very grateful. So thank you for that comment. But that's all God's glory, and I recognize that, and I'm just great to be used by this conversation. Any last words before you go, Dr. Maisha? But thank you today. I mean, we needed this. This was
great. I miss it. You know, it's been, we've had some losses.
Yeah.
And it's been difficult, just a lot of unexpecteds. And we're going to just persevere.
Yeah. Exactly.
Be patient with us. I ask the patients to be patient with us. I ask the people that rely on us to come and teach to be patient with us. And, what's really on my heart is the role you have played in my development. This is a gift that you have given me. I didn't see myself in this way. I didn't see myself.
I did.
This conversation.
I did.
And now we have a whole specialty clinic around it. Like I could not have imagined this.
Y'all, she been a trait doctor from day one. She's like me. I have some identities that I'm a published author and stuff, and there's identities that I don't want to take on yet. They're there, but when I met you and who you said you were and what you was up to, I'm like, we need a trait doctor. Like all these doctors, they're not paying attention. There's not one stepping up to say, hey, you know what? Let me stand in the gap and just let's see. No, they're like, nope. That's benign. Nope, that's not true. That can't be true. That can't. And it's like, no. And when you came in town, I was like, oh, that's the truth.
No, you definitely developed and cultivated this path. And, I call you an honorary doctor often, because of the way you can see what God gave you. And I think that's the energy we want to have in this community.
Yeah.
You know, that the trait can lead us to amazing things and actually create opportunities we wouldn't have had.
Yeah.
And it whatever you're given, that's letting you know about the direction that will be good for you to go in.
Yeah.
And embrace that.
And that's why we want our community, that when we, especially our sickle cell community, you know, you got so much talent, you got so much already within you that can be applied to life, and you're thriving, but be free in your heart to thrive, in your spirit and your soul, and put them things as close as possible. Give them the same principles to live from, so that you can experience the greatness of what this world has offered us and what God has given us to share from. And you say about the trait conversation, you know, even with that military experience of the depression and anxiety that we talk about here on our network with veterans and suicide ideation, like I'm in the room with like psychologists and therapists, right? And I'm going one for one with them, and I'm like, I'm a patient advocate. You know, I'm not trying to be a psychologist. I'm not claiming that, but I can definitely have a conversation at the core of what it is to be a human being and the experience and what we are dealing with. And because I experienced that for myself. And so my mom, shouts out to my mom, she was a little bit afraid for her son, because she's like, how are you going to have these discussions about emotional intelligence and mental health? And what if they question you about your education? I'm like, Mom, I'm not claiming to be a therapist. I'm not claiming to be a psychologist. It's like, I'm not trying. I'm a patient. I said, just like my sickle cell trait, I'm in the room with doctors and researchers, and they're asking me questions about sickle cell trait. I'm like, I'm just a
because your
patient
boots on the ground. We're all in a different position. There are things you can do because you don't have that licensure to protect,
right?
That I actually can't do.
Yeah.
You know,
and say, I can
everybody
say
and say there are things I have a deep responsibility and accountability to the science,
right?
To the knowledge.
Yeah.
So there are things that I can't just say just anything, you know, but because you're able to just throw things out there, I can catch that ball and go look and find the science.
Find the science.
That's
why she's the trained doctor,
you know, so that's why, you know, it takes every kind, and we have to have that deep love and respect for each person and meet them where they are.
Yes.
You know, my mom always said there's no big I's and little U's. You know?
Yeah.
And it's just probably this Latino communal background that I was raised, you know.
Yeah.
We respect the knowledge. We do have to respect the knowledge. When someone has knowledge, you have to respect that.
Yeah.
Because that's God that gives people knowledge.
Exactly.
Whether it's through a school or through life.
Yeah.
You have to respect knowledge and wisdom, or you're going to have a very rocky life.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not always about a title.
So speaking of the Latin community, we're going to play this PSA right here.
Muchos de nosotros nos vemos afectados por la enfermedad de células falciformes a diario, y un número creciente simplemente no nos damos cuenta. Los impactos de esta enfermedad afectan a todas las personas, y en especialmente a las personas de color y con antecedentes diversos. Estar en servicio conmigo y con los demás a medida que creamos una mayor conciencia sobre cómo identificar y dirigir el tratamiento de los rasgos de células falciformes, y ayudar a las familias a saber cómo superar el trastorno de células falciformes.
Do you remember studying sickle cell in biology class? What's the Count on Sickle Cell Trait Prevention is here to bring you awareness, education, and prevention conversations around the risk factors of this inherited gene. Visit wdconsct.org.
My name is Ann Halley. I am the CEO and founder of the Rhabdomyolysis Foundation. I founded the organization in 2022 in an effort to support survivors and fund medical-related research. If you're interested in getting involved with our organization, you can visit our website at therhabdofoundation.org. You can sign up as a volunteer, or you can support our organization by donating directly on our website. And all proceeds will go to support survivors and medical research.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh,
too,
man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasm, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. You know the fact that both parents have sickle cell trait, there's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org. This is Farron from the Farron Dozier Show, 8 p.m. Pacific Time on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website, the station that leaves no listener behind, and MBR Radio. That's right, MBR Radio on all their streaming platforms, including MBR Radio on Roku TV, Sunday nights live, 8 p.m. Pacific Time on KCAA Radio and MBRradio.us. The Farron Dozier Show. For more information, search farrond.com. All right, welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show.
I just love it.
MB Radio. What's happening, Doc?
She said, "You really want to know?"
You know, that PSA was in my heart from like day one. I carried that seed. And then I was in my landmark seminar in 2016, and the conversation was, kind of like resilience. What is that one thing that you put on the shelf that you haven't done it, or you want to do it and you've been thinking about it? And I was like, I want to do this PSA, and I'm like, I've been wanting to do that PSA since 2012, and this is 2016, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I already had the vision for it. I've talked about it. No one has taken it from me. Like, it must be for me to do. So each one of those people are sharing their personal turquoise, who went to UCLA, who I interviewed in 2013. Mr. McDonald, the music artist who has a daughter. That's his real story. My real story. And the extra guy who was there, who was supposed to be the camera guy, but DJ Tantrum was supposed to be there because he was the Marine with the Salvadorian with sickle cell trait, my Marine DJ, and he didn't show up. So the guy, that was his real response about, and so the way it was designed, the bus stop, it was like my whole, like, God allowed me to produce that, and I sat and I edited it, and I gave my word. That's the beauty of it. I gave my word at the beginning of the class. I'm going to have this done by October. I think it was October 16th or something. And I found the location. I got the camera guy, all that. Boom, boom, boom. I saw the bus stop. We filmed it and edited it. Took a couple of weeks to edit it. I went to the guy's house and we sat and we put it together, edited it. And then and I completed it before the due date that I gave my word to in my class.
That is wonderful.
And so that I'm very proud of that God, that's how you know that the stuff that's inside you, that you can actually bring it to life.
Bring it to fruition
And have it be a PSA like that. And so Very grateful for your time today. Thank you. Shouts out to your family. The Trait Tribe.
The Trait Tribe.
TraitTribeTalks.com. That is where you can find us at. Make sure you go there if you want to be a part of it. It is a private conversation. So when you come in there, it's not, if we record it, it's because of for training purposes, but it is not where anybody can just come in there. So your security, your safety of opening up and sharing is only people who are a part of that community that can come in there. So there's no
it's
outside
a close
forces.
community. Like we talked about the discrimination.
Yeah.
And then also just to be able to process, like, wow, I really do. The first is like, oh God, nobody believes me.
Right.
Then once somebody believes you, people hit a different type of depression of, wow, I really have a disease.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary. So all that can be processed in the Trait Tribe Talks.
Yes.
Safely. So that's why it's a closed community. It needs to be so that it's a safe space.
Yeah. Because we are aware of the outside forces.
Yes.
and even in our own community, there are outside forces that
energy of, I'm the one with the most pain. Why are you complaining?
Right.
And pain doesn't work like that. Everybody's experience is their experience, and we honor that.
Dr. Maisha, thank you. I look forward to moving this conversation forward. And you always welcome here on Wednesday or Sunday night. You saw the Sunday night. You all either way.
I have to
either
start
way.
coming.
You got platforms. We got time.
I just, I was like, oh man, how am I going to do this? I had just left clinic. I had a full course of patients today. I'm like, whew.
Hopefully this was a good outlet.
I want to come again. I really enjoyed it.
I got you. Whenever you're ready, we'll make it happen. Thank you for today.
Thank you too.
All right.
Blessings and peace.
Blessings. This is the Farron Dozier Show right here on MB Radio. Shout us out. What's the count? If you want more information about what we're up to, again, go to wdconset.org. You can find all the information there. I really appreciate you today. That resilience, take a look. Please self-examine yourself. For my veterans, anybody dealing with mental health, I recommend cognitive behavior, CBT. Let me tell you, it will grab those thoughts and take your language and force you to stop using words that keep you trapped. Sometimes our own words are our own trap. You won't say all or none anymore, because now you'll be able to put those thoughts in a percentage perspective. And challenge, is it exaggerated? Is that a habitual thought? Grab those thoughts. So appreciate y'all for tuning in today. We got to get out of here again. Well, if you want to be a guest, hit me up right there. You see that at Farron Dozier on all your platforms. You can reach out to me, mbradio.us. You can go there. There's a part on my page where you can scroll down and send me a message right there if you want to be a guest. So there's plenty of ways to reach out to me and find me here on Wednesday nights on Military Broadcast Radio Network. All right. Shout out. What's the count? Thank you all for today's episode. Peace out.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.